Welcome to Conversion Servers. This is the control center for your distributed video transcoding pool. Every remote machine that helps your main web server turn raw uploads into playable MP4 and HLS streams. Instead of pinning every FFmpeg job to one box, the platform hands work out across a fleet of dedicated conversion servers, each pulling tasks, processing them, and reporting back. From this page, you can register those machines, watch them work, deploy the worker script that lets them pull jobs, run health diagnostics, and review the dispatch log. To open it, log into your admin panel and navigate to domain.com/ct/admin/conversion_servers.php. Or from the admin top navigation menu, click the engine menu and choose Conversion Servers. The breadcrumb traces Dashboard Video Processor Conversion Servers. When the page loads, you will see a green gradient banner with a server icon and the page title. Below it is a colored feature toggle box telling you whether distributed conversion is currently switched on, green if enabled, yellow if disabled, with a settings shortcut that jumps to the video processor settings page where the master toggle lives. Below that is an 8-card stats grid, 2 tabs called Servers and Logs, and 3 modal dialogues for adding, deploying to, and diagnosing individual servers. The stats grid. Before we touch the tabs, look at the row of 8 stat cards across the top. Each card has a colored left edge that doubles as a status alarm. Total servers is the count of every conversion server registered. Enabled is how many are set to enabled and eligible for dispatch. Healthy is how many are reporting clean heartbeats. If it drops below enabled, the card flips yellow. Offline counts servers whose heartbeat has gone stale, and the card flips red above 0. Current load with a blue edge shows active jobs / total slot capacity. 3/12 means 3 jobs running out of 12 fleet-wide slots. Pending tasks with a purple edge is videos waiting in the queue. Completed today is how many finished since midnight, and failed today flips red on any failure. A morning glance at this route tells the whole story. Healthy equals enabled, offline at 0, failed today at 0, current load below total capacity. That is a healthy fleet. Anything else is a starting point for troubleshooting. Tab 1, Servers. The Servers tab is the default landing view. Below the tab nav is a content card with an Add Server button in its header. If you have never registered a server, the card body shows an empty state with a green Add Server button to get you started. Once you have 1 or more servers, a data table replaces the empty state. The table has 8 columns. Server shows the friendly name in bold with the host address, the IP or host name, in muted text below. Type is the connection method in uppercase, SSH, FTP, local, or S3. Status is a colored pill showing enabled, disabled, or maintenance. Maintenance is the middle ground that keeps a server registered but pulled out of dispatch rotation while you patch it. Health is a dot and label pill showing healthy in green, warning in yellow, critical in orange, offline in red, or unknown in gray, computed from heartbeat freshness and the diagnostics the worker reports back. Load is a horizontal progress bar showing percentage of slots in use with a current jobs / max concurrent jobs caption underneath. The bar turns yellow over 50% and red over 80%. Jobs is a 2-tone counter showing total completed in green and total failed in red, separated by a slash. Last heartbeat shows the timestamp of the most recent heartbeat. Fresh times appear in muted gray as just now or a few minutes ago. The line turns yellow with a warning icon past 10 minutes and red with a triangle past 15 minutes, at which point the server is treated as offline. A server that has never reported shows never in gray. This whole column auto-refreshes every 30 seconds, so you can leave the page open and watch it tick. The Actions column is 5 small icon buttons. The plug icon runs a test connection, an immediate handshake using the configured connection type, with success or failure reported as a toast, and is the first sanity check after adding a server. The upload or checkmark icon is Deploy Worker, an orange upload arrow if the worker has not been deployed, a green checkmark if it has. Clicking either opens the deploy modal in the appropriate mode. The deploy button does not appear at all on S3 type servers, since S3 is a storage backend rather than a host that runs PHP. The heartbeat icon opens the diagnostics modal covered below. The pencil icon opens the edit modal pre-filled with that row's settings. The red trash icon deletes the server with a confirmation prompt. The platform refuses to delete a server that still has active jobs. The Add or Edit Server modal. Click Add Server in the card header or the pencil icon on a row. The modal that opens is one long form broken into 4 labeled sections. At the top, server name is required. Pick something memorable like Conversion 1. Status is a drop-down with Enabled, Disabled, or Maintenance. The connection section is next. Connection type is a drop-down, SSH, FTP, local, or S3, and the host field beside it takes an IP address or domain name. Below the type row, a subform swaps depending on the connection type. For SSH and FTP, you get port, 22 for SSH, 21 for FTP, username, password, and SSH key path. The SSH key path is the absolute path on your main web server to a private key file. Set it and the worker authenticates with the key instead of the password. For S3, the form expands to S3 access key, S3 secret key, S3 bucket, S3 region, and an S3 endpoint URL for non-Amazon providers like Wasabi or DigitalOcean Spaces. For local, the subform collapses since no credentials are needed. The path section is next. Working directory is the absolute path on the remote server where the worker writes task files, logs, and the heartbeat file, default/home/conversion/tasks. File system path is an optional second path used when the working directory is reachable over FTP at one path, but the cron daemon needs a different yin-jailed absolute path, common on shared hosts. FFmpeg path and FFprobe path are absolute paths to the binaries, defaulting to /usr/bin/ffmpeg and /usr/bin/ffprobe. The capacity section is next. Max concurrent jobs is how many videos this server may encode at once. Default 2, max 20. Set it based on CPU cores and RAM. Priority is a dispatcher tiebreaker where lower numbers win. 50 beats 100. Weight is a relative share for round robin among servers of the same priority. Bumping one server's weight from 100 to 200 doubles its share. Heartbeat interval is how often the worker writes his heartbeat file in seconds. Default 60. The hardware section is informational only. CPU cores, RAM, and disk space are reference fields that show up in your records but do not affect dispatch. Below that, a notes text area captures freeform annotations. The footer has a gray cancel and a green save server. Saving writes to TBL conversion servers, and the next dispatcher tick respects the new settings. The deploy worker modal. Click the upload icon on a row. The deploy modal handles 3 lifecycle states: never deployed, already deployed, and a fresh deployment that just succeeded or failed. For a server that has not been deployed yet, the modal opens with a spinner reading deploying and a subline explaining that it is copying the worker files. Behind the scenes, the platform connects over SSH, FTP, or local copy, creates the working directory, uploads the remote_worker.php script and its helpers, and verifies the files landed. On success, the modal flips to a green checkmark with the heading Worker Deployed Successfully and a code block containing the exact cron tab line for the remote server. Asterisk, 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 space, PHP space, then the working directory /remote_worker.php, redirecting standard output and standard error to a log file. A copy button sits on the code block, and a helpline tells you to SSH into the remote machine, run crontab-e, paste the line, and save. A small orange warning on FTP deployments reminds you that the path inside the cron tab may need adjustment to the unjailed absolute path. Exactly what the file system path field on the add server form is for. On failure, the modal flips to a red time circle icon with the heading Deployment Failed and the error message from the connection. A Try Again button retries. Common causes are wrong credentials, a firewall blocked port, no write permission on the working directory, or a PHP version mismatch. If the worker has already been deployed, the row icon is a green checkmark, and clicking it opens the modal in worker already deployed mode with a copyable cron command and a yellow redeploy button to push the latest worker files over the existing install. Useful after a platform upgrade. The footer close button reloads the page so the deploy status icon updates from upload arrow to checkmark on rows you just deployed to. The diagnostics modal. Click the heartbeat icon on a row. Diagnostics opens a wider modal that reads the latest heartbeat.dat file from the remote server's working directory and displays it as a health dashboard. The platform connects fresh on each open over SSH, FTP, or direct file read on local, and pulls the heartbeat back in real time. At the top is the server name and host. If the heartbeat reports issues, a red Issues Detected section appears next, listing each with a critical or warning icon, for example, FFmpeg not found at configured path, or working directory not writable. Below the issues, 2 grids of 4 diagnostic tiles. The first row covers worker status, load average, disk space, and active jobs. Worker status reads running in green if the heartbeat is under 5 minutes old, delayed in yellow between 5 and 10 minutes, or stopped in red past 10 minutes or never written. Load average pulls system load from the remote box. Under 5 is normal, 5 to 10 is high, above 10 is critical. Disk space shows free gigabytes with a % used of total detail. Under 5, free or over 85% used turns the tile yellow. Under 1 or over 95% used turns it red. Disk pressure is a real failure mode because Fmpeg writes large temporary files during HLS segmenting. Active jobs is what the worker is encoding right now. Read from the worker process directly. The second row covers F-Fmpeg, F-Fprobe, working directory, and worker version. F-Fmpeg and F-Fprobe each show available with a version string or missing in red. Working directory shows writable or not writable with the directory path. Worker version is the version string the worker reports, with a last update age caption. If you redeployed and the version still shows old, the remote cron has not picked up the new files yet. At the bottom is the heartbeat timestamp, a green refresh button, and a close button. If the worker has never run, the modal shows a no diagnostics yet empty state. The fix is the cron tab line from the deploy modal. Tab 2, Logs. Click the Logs tab. This view is a live readout of dispatch and worker events pulled from the TBL conversion server logs table. The card has a refresh button and a 4-column table. Time, server, type, and message. Time is when the entry was recorded. Server is which server it belongs to, or N/A for system-wide events. Type is the event class, dispatch, complete, fail, heartbeat, or error. Message is the human-readable log line. A successful dispatch reads, Job 5012 dispatched to conversion 1. A failure reads, connection timeout, or Fmpeg exited with code 1. The list pulls the most recent 50 entries by default. Hit refresh for a fresh batch. For debugging one server, the diagnostics modal usually answers faster, but the logs are where you find historical patterns. For example, a server that fails 1 job every hour at the top of the hour, which usually means another scheduled task on the remote machine is competing for resources. How it all fits together. The dispatch lifecycle. The architecture, because nothing on this page works without 3 cron jobs running in concert. On your main web server, the master site cron fires once a minute and triggers 2 conversion crons. The conversion_dispatcher.php cron is the matchmaker. It scans the TBL video processing jobs table for pending jobs, picks an eligible server based on health, current load, priority, and weight, writes a task file to that server's working directory, and marks the job dispatched. The conversion_polar.php cron is the collector. It scans all servers for completed task files, pulls the resulting HLS manifests, MP4 outputs, thumbnails, and posters back to the main server's storage layer, and marks the job complete or failed. On failure, the dispatcher picks up the orphan on its next run with the auto fallback toggle from the video processor settings page, deciding whether to retry remote or fall back to local encoding. On each remote conversion server, the worker cron, the line the deploy modal handed you, fires once a minute, scans its working directory for new tasks, runs fmpeg on each, writes outputs back, updates the heartbeat.dat file, and exits. Every 30 seconds while you have this page open, the heartbeat column auto-refreshes by polling the get_server_heartbeats endpoint, so you can watch a fleet come back online without reloading. 3 crons must run for the whole system to function. 2 on the main server, both scheduled from the cron manager page, plus 1 remote_worker line on each remote server. Forget any and jobs back up. The video processor settings page has a separate distributed video conversion panel for the global tunings. Master toggle, poll interval, heartbeat threshold, max dispatches per run, upload mode, dispatch alert email, and auto fallback toggle. This page is the per server inventory. A few practical tips. First time setup. Add the server, click test connection until green. Click deploy worker, copy the cron line, SSH to the remote box, paste into cron tab-E, then watch the diagnostics modal for the first heartbeat in roughly 90 seconds. Adding a second server at the same priority and weight gives you round robin. Raising one to weight 200 doubles its share. To pull a server for maintenance, set status to maintenance so the dispatcher stops new dispatches, but lets running jobs finish, then flip back to enabled. To diagnose a stall, open the diagnostics modal first. Missing F-FMPEG means fix the path. Red disk means cleanup. Stopped worker means the remote cron is not running. An unreadable heartbeat means the connection itself is broken. To remove a server, set it disabled, wait for load to drain to 0, then trash it. That is the conversion servers page. 2 tabs, servers for the per machine inventory and logs for the dispatch event history. 3 modals for adding or editing, deploying the worker, and reading diagnostics, and an 8-card stats row giving you fleet health at a glance. Combined with the dispatcher and polar crons on your main server and a remote worker cron on each remote machine, this page lets you scale your video pipeline horizontally without touching the rest of the platform. Set up your first server, deploy the worker, paste the cron line, and the next pending video on your site will get encoded somewhere other than the box, also serving your front-end traffic.